Good morning, everybody. It's about 7:30 in the morning, and I'm just out here checking on the garden. We had a little bit of a freak windstorm in the evening yesterday. Everything looks pretty good. We had a couple corn behind me. They got pushed over a bit, and then we also had a couple tomatoes over there on that side. They also got toppled a little bit. But what I am out here doing today is focusing on all of my ornamental gourds and my squashes and that sort of thing, because we did have a little bit of rain too, and I am finding a lot of their leaves have blown out. But I noticed something that I wanted to share with you guys so you can look out for it. So I originally had come out here to focus on some runaways that I have, but mainly to focus on the situation going on right there. I do have a couple plants that have variegation, so you'll see there's a bit of like coloring. That's not what we're looking at right now. What we're looking at is this more spotty texture mixed in with the yellow. This is powdery mildew, and the reason why you usually get this is because your plants are stressed, and typically there's a reason why. And I started clipping out things, started following back, because I've been losing a lot of blossoms and I don't want this to spread to the other plants that are still doing well. And upon clipping out a couple of little things, I noticed. So this is one of the leaves that I saw, and you can kind of see there's a bit of discoloration. You put it on the back, you can kind of see some specks. That's mostly just dirt because it was, sitting in the dirt. That's also a cause of powdery mildew sometimes, is when it's too close to your soil. That's why we actually are using this trellis system, just so we can allow a little bit more leverage and a little bit more airflow to our vegetables and the leaves, so they can dry out in between waterings or rainfalls. But when you come down here, there's actually something that you have to notice. If you kind of look at the plant, sorry for moving it so much, you can kind of see a little bit of this white detailing. And it kind of looks like a little bit like scratch marks. Sorry, put this down, maybe we can do it this way. So you can see here, there's a bit of scratch marks. And beside those scratch marks, you can see those kind of coppery little dots. So what those are, folks, is that's actually the vine boring moth. Those little spots are all of the eggs. And it looks like one of the eggs actually hatched. And you can tell by when you actually look in here, you can kind of hold it up to the light and you can see the pinhole. So you can definitely tell that the critter has made its way into my plant. So that's not a good thing, especially for this one plant. So I'm going to do some major TLC on this vine, because as you can see, I already have some gourds started. And of course, if you leave this, it's almost a lost cause. So whenever you see that, you definitely want to attend to it. I personally have seen 2 in the garden this year. We definitely used the electric fly swatter to get one of them, unfortunately, but the second one, that one did get away. So I will catch back with you guys soon with an update of how this all looks when we've trimmed it out. I wanted to show you guys the difference between these 2 blossoms, and I guess explain kind of what they mean. So you'll see they're very different looking. The one on the right hand side closest to over here looks more like a shriveled blossom. One of the tall tale signs to tell what type of blossom this is kind of by the shape and what it's doing. Typically the blossoms of the male and female flowers only bloom for about a day. In that time, they need to have pollination by either pollinators, such as a bumblebee, a butterfly, flies, that sort of thing, or you can also hand pollinate them using sterilized fingers or like a paintbrush, that sort of thing. So this one here, you can tell it still is in a pretty good shape. The only thing that's really different is the crinkled up flowers at the top. This was most likely a male flower, and you can kind of see at the bottom here is where its stem would have been, and it just pop right off, and it still has a fair bit of life to it, but this is definitely a spent flower. With these ones, we usually pop them off and then sometimes toss them in our yard, but we realized none of our neighborhood critters like them, so they'll be going in the compost moving forward. We do know that you can also, before, kind of like when they're like that, eat the blossoms of some varieties of squashes, namely zucchinis. These ones are all ornamental gourds, so they're not supposed to be eaten, period, so I haven't been doing that. So these have been going in the compost. This guy, however, looks a little bit different. It has a very, very shriveled flower up on the top, but then you'll see what would have been a fruit on the bottom here. There's also a flea beetle in my hand. Don't worry about that. It's not a big deal for him. So this guy here is a female flower that incorrectly got pollinated, or, well, I should say didn't get pollinated. So this is something that is called blossom end rot. You can kind of see there how it's kind of doing exactly that. It's rotting away and it's kind of all gross. And you can see here the plant actually rejected this fruit and it just fell off, and it was found in the bottom of my garden. So these two signs will show you. One of them is a completely natural thing to happen, having the male flowers pop off after they've done their job. But having this is something you want to look out for, because if you are mostly getting this and seeing that you're not getting any kind of fruiting, pollination by hand is something you're going to want to do. Well, folks, there you have it. We've trimmed out a lot of the unsightful leaves, blossoms, one or two plants. And so you can see now we have a zillion piles for the compost. Hey, Rocco. My little helper. I also did this side as well, which is where our miniature pumpkins are. I helped a couple of them start trellising up. So usually what we do is we have a garden Velcro that we use, but we're kind of out of that. So I'm using these cheap old clips. I actually thrifted a pack of these clips for really inexpensive at Value Village, but they're honestly just dollar store like plant clips. They come in a pack, but I found a whole bag of them for way cheaper. Ensuring though that you have airflow is extremely, extremely important. If you don't have airflow, that again is what causes a lot of the powdery mildew. But also too, you want some type of airflow, some type of light, because that's how things start changing colors as well sometimes, depending on the variety. Don't forget, that's a variation, not powdery mildew. We even have a couple baby pumpkins starting. That's basically all there is to it. Just a little pruning, a little tidbit about our arch nemesis, squash vine borer. Hopefully your planting is going well, and have a beautiful day.